Now, from the WCCO Live Desk, you're watching CBS News Minnesota.
Good morning. I'm Maria Lizignoli. It's 10 o'clock live in the WCCO newsroom. Thanks for joining us at the Live Desk. In the last 10 minutes, we received a statement from the Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension saying the FBI formally notified the BCA last Friday that it will not provide the BCA with access to any information or evidence it collected in the shooting death of Alex Preddy by a federal agent. The BCA says it also reiterated requests for information and evidence related to the shooting death of Renee Good, as well as the shooting injury of Julio Sosa Solis, all by federal agents. The BCA says it remains unclear if the FBI will share anything related to those two shootings. The BCA says its own investigations will continue. We're going to keep digging into this new information and bring you updates on air and online. Right now, the state House and Senate DFL legislators are holding a press conference. The state leaders say they're calling on Republicans to stand against the federal immigration operation here in Minnesota. They will be joined by residents who say they've been harmed by ICE's actions. Here is a live look at the state capitol where this press conference should start any minute now. We will bring you there as soon as it does. And our Barrett Leone is following this today as well and bring you a live report in our news at noon. Meanwhile, tomorrow, Minnesota lawmakers are returning to work for the 2026 legislative session, and they'll start by honoring a colleague. This will be the first time lawmakers are back since former Speaker Melissa Hortman and her husband Mark were killed last summer. After the session begins, members of the House and Senate will gather to honor the two of them in the House chamber. There will be a resolution read and several people will be speaking, including Governor Tim Walz. There will also be new security screenings at the Capitol. Our Caroline Cummings has been talking to lawmakers ahead of this year's session. You can find her breakdown of both DFL and GOP priorities on our website, WCCO.com. We have new details about this large car fire on 394 overnight. The Minnesota State Patrol says just before 11 last night, they responded to a vehicle fire on 394 West near Highway 100. State Patrol says there were no injuries. Our photographer on the scene says there was only one person in that car and they were able to get out safely. But our photographer says at least a dozen cars stopped to make sure everyone was safe. Police and fire helped on the scene to get the fire out. No word right now on the cause of the car fire. We're also learning new information about a building in South Minneapolis riddled with bullet holes. Just before 10 yesterday morning, Minneapolis police responded to a report of this building damaged by gunfire. This is at 3048 Bloomington Avenue, which is a block northeast of Powderhorn Park. The sign on the building says it is Deco Factory Services, Inc. MPD says officers worked with MPD forensic scientists to process the scene and collect evidence. The department says it's investigating the sequence of events that led up to the building damage, and there have been no arrests yet. I want to take you live now to the state capitol where state DFL leaders are holding a press conference in response to the federal operations here in Minnesota. We take you there live now to the state capitol.
For inviting us here today to quantify and contextualize what has occurred in Minnesota these past few months. What we have witnessed in the last 2 months is one of the largest deprivations of constitutional protections in the history of our state. It has touched every corner of our state, every aspect of daily life, and the full extent of the harms of Operation Metro Surge are just beginning to be felt and to be tallied. Minnesotans have been detained, Minnesotans have been disappeared, and Minnesotans have been killed by reckless, unaccountable federal agents. The Department of Homeland Security, Customs and Border Protection, and Immigration and Customs Enforcement have trampled on our constitutional protections, violating the First, Second, Fourth, Fifth, Sixth, and 10th Amendments. The ACLU of Minnesota has received over 700 reports of constitutional violations in the 2 months that our reporting portal has been active. That's nearly 200 more than when I testified before the Senate at the end of January. The federal government has not only violated the rights of Minnesota and Minnesotans, they have trampled on the separation of powers, violating nearly 100 federal court orders in January alone. This is a constitutional system at risk of breakdown. When Minnesotans' constitutional rights are violated, their attorneys go to courts to seek remedies, and when the courts grant those remedies, the federal government must comply. When the federal government does not comply, you arrive at where we are now. Thousands of Minnesotans separated from their families, unable to contact their attorneys, unable to locate their lost family members, detained in squalid conditions around the country, and treated as pawns in the federal government's campaign of racial and ethnic violence. The good news is that the state of Minnesota is not powerless. The state can act. The state can act to protect community spaces like schools, daycares, healthcare facilities, and courtrooms. The state can act to disentangle itself and its political subdivisions from this federal violence. The state can act to provide Minnesotans with legal avenues and legal remedies for constitutional harms. And the state can act to restrict and eliminate involvement in the federal surveillance state that the federal government has weaponized against Minnesota. Thank you again for the opportunity to address you today as Minnesota's elected representatives gather to respond to our shared experience these past few months.
Good morning. I'm Senator Erin May Quaid. I represent Senate District 56, Rosemont, Apple Valley, and Eagan. The result of Operation Metro Surge, which is not over yet, I want to be very clear. We are still seeing activity in our communities. We are still having our neighbors kidnapped. We are still having observers being aggressively targeted and people being detained. This has brought generational devastation. This is something that Trump and Republicans have brought because Republicans in Minnesota will not stand up to him. Despite the messaging of the drawdown, this is not over. The day that the drawdown was announced, Jesus Flores, a father of 6, 2 of whom have disabilities, was lured out of his house with a ruse of a broken down car and then violently detained and taken away. These armed lawless agents are just the armed version of the siege that Minnesota has been under for over a year. Gutting our public health departments, withholding funding for childcare in our public schools, removing children's cancer research dollars, gutting higher education, rural hospital funds, the list goes on and on. Now, after Operation Metro Surge, after the armed part of the siege, we have small businesses crumbling, we have students who are traumatized, experiencing learning loss, we have their parents being detained. We have true devastation, and in Trump's own words, the goal was retribution. What Minnesota has experienced is an economic blockade. As our workers have been kidnapped, less people to work in restaurants and stores, build houses, our economy is close to coming to a standstill. But Minnesotans from Apple Valley to Alexandria have been showing up for one another, protecting our neighbors, providing needed relief to struggling families and businesses. The average Minnesota 10th grader, actually, has done more to stand up to this federal occupation than any state Republican lawmaker, and that is shameful. Right. So Minnesota Republicans, as we start this legislative session, have 2 options. They can continue to be silent in the face of this economic siege. They can continue to be silent while their own constituents, business owners, neighbors, teachers, doctors, children are taken and kidnapped, separated from their family. Or they can join the hundreds of thousands of Minnesotans across race, place, political and party affiliation who have stood up against this lawless federal government and demand accountability, demand that we get our neighbors back, and help rebuild once this is actually over. They have a lot of power to get this to stop, and I hope they use it.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Genaro J.D. Delgado, and as a small business owner actively involved in the restaurant industry in Minnesota, I have firsthand witnessed the severe impact of ICE action on restaurant properties. Many of my family members and friends own Mexican restaurants, and we have experienced firsthand the chaos that has ensued due to the fears instilled by ICE agents. Among our employees, one of our workers was severely burned when he was forcibly restrained against the fryer. When confronted, an ICE agent claimed that the employee pushed the fryer back, attributing the incident to his actions, blaming the victim, just like with Good and Pretty. Unfortunately, none of these employees have chosen to testify against ICE due to their fears of retaliation. ICE has targeted Hispanic individuals, even those who could prove their legal documentation, and proceeded against them regardless. It's not about legal or undocumented. They are targeting all of us. These actions have resulted in many employees contacting us, claiming they are unable to come to work due to the fear that they won't make it home to their families. These actions by ICE have had a profound negative impact on our small businesses, leading to the closure of restaurants and the loss of significant investments. Many of us are unable to meet employee salaries, mortgages, rent, and supplier obligations. As a result, these actions have had a devastating financial impact in our businesses, resulting in the permanent closure of restaurants. If an elected official cares about their local economy, they should care about this. During my first encounter with ICE, I witnessed a 15-year-old American citizen student being restrained by ICE agent. The agent's knee was pressed against the student's head, treating him like a wild animal, solely because of his skin color, which resembles mine. The student sustained scratches and blood on his face and was left traumatized for the rest of his life. That student deserved justice. After confirming the student's American citizenship, he was subject to a kick on his rear and instructed to carry his passport. This incident forced me to carry my own passport, which fortunately proved beneficial when I was detained a few days later. At a gas station, an Immigration and Customs Enforcement ICE agent detained me. After verifying my citizenship, I remained there for 30 minutes, during which I experienced profound emotional distress. I felt violated and had my rights infringed upon solely due to my skin color and Mexican heritage. Something I never thought will happen in the United States of America. The feeling is indescribable. Aren't we supposed to be about freedom? My family and I, our friends, our neighbors, and other business owners have not felt free in a long time. I both live and own a business in a Republican represented district. I understand that there is a tight house right now, and the legislation that could help us could be held up because of politics as usual. This is not politics as usual. This has been an affront to humanity. If my representative, John Kosnick, cares about me, my local business, or my constitutional rights, I'm asking him to support these common sense proposals that protect us from reckless and lawless masked federal agents. It's hard to share these stories, but if these stories can help bring change, I want to share them. Thank you for hearing them today, and thank you for every elected official that is standing up for Minnesotans, even when it means calling out the federal government. Thank you.
Hello and good morning. Thank you for this opportunity to share my story and for fighting for the Minnesotans that you represent. My name is Sarah Lekowich. I own and operate a small construction business in Cottage Grove. I am a third-generation contractor, and I am incredibly proud of my company, and my crew is like my family, and that is why I'm here today. Last week, I was in a meeting with over 40 other contractors, large and small. Normally, at this point of the year, we're talking about contracts, strategy, finances. This time, because of the actions of federal agents, the conversation was really different. We found ourselves asking a question no one of us expected to ask. How do we protect our workers from our own government? I gotta tell you, this was not on my bingo card as a business owner. Like my dad and my grandpa before me, my employees are my family. Since December, many of them have been afraid to leave their homes. They have experienced fear, uncertainty, constant stress as they watch people who look like them being harassed, profiled, and targeted. For my business, there was only one responsible choice. We had to stop our projects because we could not guarantee the safety of our workers. These are folks who have earned legal status. They've worked hard, they've contributed, they are essential to our company and to our community. Yet, what we are seeing sends a deeply troubling message that who you are and how you look can matter more than your rights. Minnesotans deserve to see their elected officials do everything possible to protect constitutional rights, our homes and our businesses and our neighbors. This should not be a political issue. It's about standing up for people who show up every day to help build, care for, and sustain our communities. Caring about Cottage Grove in Minnesota means standing up with small businesses that serve this community, the workers who make that possible. I sincerely hope Representative Johnson will show the leadership on these issues this session. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Lee Finke. I use she, her pronouns. I represent District 66A in the Minnesota House of Representatives. I'm carrying two bills this session targeting the actions of the secret police in the state of Minnesota. The first would require all law enforcement at all levels not to wear masks while on duty, with some specific exemptions for health and public safety. The second will require all vehicles intended to detain human individuals to be marked law enforcement vehicles and have safety mechanisms in them for the safe transportation of people. These are easy policies to understand and get behind. We should be able to go into the House and get not just the one vote we need to pass them, but countless Republican votes to support these. And yet we have heard no indication from Republicans at any level in Minnesota to support these reasonable responses to this out-of-control behavior. In fact, all we have heard from our Minnesota GOP colleagues is that we should let the secret police continue to carry out more state violence against the people of Minnesota. They do not want to stop it. They want to enable it. They want to assist this federal government in covering it up. And in doing so, they hope to please this out-of-control, unconstitutional, law-breaking, corrupt administration. Trump and his goons that he calls a cabinet want this violence. They want it. They want it on Minnesotans. And too many GOP leaders have shown that they want it too. Even as we live through these times, we know that history has already judged the Trump administration and its actions. Secret police abducting individuals off the streets to detain them in concentrated mass detention camps, breaking up families, deporting people without warning. We know what this looks like in our history. The Trump administration will be swept into the dustbin of despots and dictators that have come before countless times. But the Minnesota GOP has a chance not to be swept into that dustbin. They still do. Today's Minnesota Republicans should stand ready to join us, to join Minnesotans, to recognize that no person in the state of Minnesota is exempt from the U.S. Constitution. It does not matter who you are. It does not matter why you are here or how you got here. If you are here, you are covered by the protections of the United States Constitution. And yet GOP leadership in their loudest voices have blamed everyone but the Trump administration. They have blamed our local police. They have blamed the U.S. Attorney's Office. They have blamed and detained legal immigrants, citizens, Democrats who they have called for our arrest. They have even killed those who have been killed by state violence for the state violence that has killed them. These are voices that have chosen a side at our moment in history. But the Minnesota DFL stands ready to solve this problem, to work together to solve it. We stand for our Constitution. We stand for the people of Minnesota, no matter who you are or why you are here. And we stand together to say no more secret police, no more broken families, no more illegal detentions, and no more killing of our citizens. Let's stand together as a DFL and a Minnesota GOP and say no more. This is the kind of moment in history where we must say never again will we allow this to happen anywhere in Minnesota or any state in the United States. Thank you, and we will stand for questions.
Do you have no Republican authors? Have you tried?
You know, we are constantly trying to reach out to Republicans. We're not holding our breath. I think if you look at the rhetoric, particularly from Republican leadership, they're not interested in holding this administration accountable, and that's not a surprise. We have 3 House members in the Republican Party running for governor. They're all competing for the affections of the same 500 Republican delegates and ideally, from the Speaker's perspective, the endorsement of Donald Trump. So we don't expect them to challenge. What we're hopeful for is that some other Republicans will recognize the humanity of the situation and do the right thing. You know, with a lot of Republicans in the age of Trump, there's been this Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde relationship. When you're behind closed doors, they're willing to tell you that they think that what's happening isn't acceptable and unreasonable. The lights come on, the cameras turn on, and we see an entirely different perspective. But I think what we've seen these last 6 weeks has been so exceptional, so damaging, that I don't know how you can be human and not respond to it. But even if it's not that, we also know it's an election year, and voters are watching, and voters will hold people accountable if they don't stand up to this administration.
Swing districts, are you targeting, you know, there's some 50-50 swing districts in an election year. Are behind closed doors some of those Republicans possible peel-offs for you?
If they're acting in their own political self-interest, they certainly will be. But again, we're not holding our breath. We've seen time and time again Republicans choose to follow the administration rather than follow the values that Minnesotans have. But we're going to try everything we can, and we're certainly going to give every Republican every opportunity to demonstrate that their values are consistent with Minnesotans and not Donald Trump.
Our Barrett Leone is at this press conference right now. She will bring you a live report in our news at noon, as well as online at WCCO.com. She'll also be reaching out to Republicans to get their take on this push from Democratic leaders here in Minnesota to stand up against President Trump and his federal operation here in Minnesota. All right, I'm going to take you live outside right now to downtown Minneapolis. As you can see, our next weather tower, red, white, and blue. It is President's Day, and it's a beautiful day outside. We're going to check in on the weather with meteorologist Joseph Dames right after the break.
Now, from the WCCO Live Desk, you're watching CBS News Minnesota.
Welcome back to the Live Desk. I'm Maria Lizignoli. A large volcano in Hawaii began erupting over the weekend, sending fiery fountains of lava and hot ash high into the sky. This is a live camera of Mount Kilauea, and this volcano is on the Hawaii island, the largest of the Hawaiian archipelago. It's about 200 miles south of the state's largest city, Honolulu, which is on Oahu. But check out this video that the U.S. Geological Survey showed of Mount Kilauea spewing lava fountains about 1,000 feet high as a river of lava flowed nearby. The National Weather Service reported plumes from the eruptions going 35,000 feet above sea level, but there was no reports of ash falling on the ground. Mount Kilauea is one of the world's most active volcanoes and one of 6 active volcanoes in Hawaii. Not quite the same here. We've got some sunny skies and blue weather for this President's Day holiday. That's why our Next Weather Tower is shining red, white, and blue. Let's check in, though, with Next Weather meteorologist Joseph Dames, who says that there are some changes on the way when it comes to the weather.
Hi, meteorologist Joseph Dames. Here we are on our Monday, President's Day, and we are coming off what was a beautiful, beautiful weekend. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, all in the 50s. And for our Monday, we're back at it. 51 degrees here in the cities. Temperatures mid-50s to 60s down south, and I have 40s and 30s up north. Just way above average by about 20 degrees or so. And that's going to continue for at least today. Changes coming in the near future. We'll start to feel those changes as early as tomorrow, but we'll notice some cooler air and winter-like weather later in the week. So here's our snow chances. Obviously nothing going on for today. Tomorrow I actually have rain in the forecast. Potentially some flurries around the metro area late Wednesday night, though. Snow will begin for you folks up north as early as late Tuesday evening. We have some dry time on Thursday, and then Friday we get back to a chance for some snow around here, and I think that is probably our best chance to see some snow on the ground, messing with your commute and your daily plans on Friday. Okay, why don't we pick it up on Tuesday, though? This is when we start noticing changes. The wind will increase, the clouds increase, and our threat for some rain starts to move on in the afternoon. It's just too warm for snow around here. At this time, we may build enough energy to actually have a few rumbles of thunder as well. I cannot rule out maybe a couple thunderstorms as we head into Tuesday late afternoon into the evening before it kind of settles down to more just a steady rain late Tuesday night. At this point in time, though, it is snowing up north, Bemidji, Grand Rapids to Duluth, cut off right around Brainerd there. And as we work through the overnight hours, it doesn't stop. So it's going to snow a decent amount up north as we go through the day on Wednesday. We're just seeing some rain around here. Still snowing late Wednesday night. Still snowing Thursday morning up north. Dry around here. And then here comes our second system down south, which will throw in some moisture over the cold air. And I think that's our chance to see some measurable snowfall from the cities down to the southeast. If this system shifts a little bit, then we may lose our threat for snow. But for now, I think we'll probably end up with some by the time we get to Friday morning. All right, 2 inches of snow Tuesday night through Thursday, pretty high up north, all the way down to Alexandria. Let's have a little fun here. I want to show you what it looks like for 8 inches of snow. Still a moderate chance and a high chance there for the North Shore. So there's going to be significant snow. There will be significant snow on the ground by the time we wrap up Thursday morning for you folks up north. And that is why there's a winter alert in place, a winter storm watch from Tuesday night into Thursday morning. For us, we'll see about Friday morning. Whatever we get Wednesday night, it's not going to be much. We're pretty much dry on Thursday, and then we'll wait for that snow Friday morning. Could be a few inches, or it could miss us altogether. We'll see. All right, I know for certain, though, the air will get cooler. Temperatures go from 50s to 40s to 30s, back down to the 20s Saturday and Sunday, with overnight temperatures in the teens. You can get all the updates you need at CBS News Minnesota.
The final week of the Winter Olympics is here, and right now you can watch the U.S. women's hockey team continue their quest for gold. The team has been pretty dominant thus far. I mean, nearly shutting out their opponents in every matchup. And in just the last hour, At around 9:40, the face-off started against Sweden in the semifinals. And right now, USA is up 1-0 in the first period. There is a watch party right now at Bunny's Bar and Grill in St. Louis Park for the game, if you want to catch the end of it with a team. And if they win, they'll be heading to the gold medal game on Thursday. Lots of local stars to cheer for. There are 6 Minnesota Frost players and 1 U of M player skating for Team USA. So we want to wish them good luck. They don't need it. They've got this. And on the men's side, they'll take to the ice again Wednesday. Their quarterfinal opponent is not yet decided. It'll be the winner between Sweden and Latvia. Here's the current look at the medal standings in the Olympics. Now, this is based on your top 3 total medals, so it's not just golds. Norway shining right now with 27 medals. Host nation Italy, not too far behind with 22, and the United States rounds it out with 17. Well, here's a look at what else is coming up in sports.
Good morning. Well, it was a busy weekend for one Minnesota Timberwolf. All but Anthony Edwards are off for the All-Star break, but in Los Angeles last night, Anthony Edwards had a big game in the newly formatted NBA All-Star games. They play short 12-minute games, 3 different teams full of All-Stars, and Anthony Edwards scored 13 points, then 11 points, and then another good performance in the championship game, and he was named the All-Star MVP. The Gopher women's basketball team was in action on the road across the border in Madison, Wisconsin, playing the Badgers yesterday, and for the second time this season, they blew out Wisconsin 83-60, despite falling behind by 10 points in the first quarter. Mara Braun had perhaps one of her best games all season with 20 points, and the Gophers earned their 20th win this season for the 3rd straight season. And the United States men's hockey team finished up pool play yesterday at the Olympics, beating Germany 5-1. Maple Grove's Brock Faber of Gopher and Wild fame scored his first goal of the Milan Cortina games, and defenseman Quinn Hughes had an assist, bringing his assist total in the Olympics up to 4. Here in the newsroom, Ren Clayton, WCCO Sports.
All right, Ren, thanks. It's American Heart Month, so we're finding out about the best foods for your heart and the foods to also avoid. And in Monday Motivation, the story of how one woman overcame a medical obstacle to still remain active and compete in races.